and we can start the meeting. Hi, everyone, and welcome aboard. If you're wondering if you're the right place, we are here in the KMGN annual course for 2026, thinking, discussing, learning together how to run the KM journey better in the new era, from strategy to impact. Before we start the session today, two things to do with technicalities. A, if you didn't receive a mail after the last meeting, or if you're not in the WhatsApp, please contact me. To the WhatsApp, you can join by yourself. The details are in the mail. If you're not in the mail, please contact me one-on-one and I will see where the problem is and I will add you. That is announcement number one. Second thing, if you are aware of someone that wanted to register but didn't register due to problems, challenges with registration, we heard of a lot of people who experienced challenges. Please let these people contact us one-on-one and we will find the best solution for them. We won't leave anyone out because they couldn't find the optimal way to register through our wonderful, amazing Eventbrite. Okay, so that is for the technical issues. And I want to welcome Manfred Bormann from Austria. As we said, we are bringing people, KM leaders for all, a variety of countries, to speak today about the mapping of the current state of our knowledge. This sounds very vague, but you'll see that until the end of the meeting, it will be very well defined. Manfred is a very well organized person. You'll see it. And B, it won't be only traditional, but it will give us tools also in the new AI era, how to better handle this need. So Manfred, the floor is all yours. You may start.
Thank you, Moria. You always oversell, so I really try to deliver on the high expectations. I'm very happy that I'm here today. Thank you so much. I see the room is full. My screen is even fuller. I have another one, and I think I should start my talk today by sharing my screen. This should be available to you right now. Please confirm. For me, it looks fine.
Just a minute. Here we go.
Wonderful.
We have it now.
So
Yes.
we have the first slide, and obviously you can hear me. So here we go. This is the second of a long series of 22 events. I'm based in Austria, as you mentioned, Moria, but I think that the global audience has similar problems all over the world. So let's just dig in why mapping might matter. For me, this is a very brief introduction. The topic started to become relevant a long time ago. When I finished my MBA, my doctoral thesis was on knowledge management, and obviously we wanted to find some way to map this knowledge management. And the language back then was very much related to intellectual capital or intangible assets, depending on what kind of background you had. American assets or the capital is not the same, but very similar. And from the knowledge management perspective, I think they are almost identical. So this is when I started to meet that and understand the topic of mapping and prioritizing. So the intellectual capital is an asset of an organization, which must be identified, and then valued according to strategic priorities. And then as resources are limited, we have to decide if we invest in either this or another category. So we found a second dimension, which is the y-axis in this portfolio, and said, okay, which is more important than the other? Yeah, so it's already selected. And to give you an impression, last week we've been talking about Ishikawa diagrams or fishbone diagrams. My original Ishikawa diagram on, for example, identifying intellectual capital was about 800 terms. So I've seen Pavel already in the room. Hi, Pavel. we are working together on the taxonomy side. And I think this is absolutely crucial to develop the language. And Ishikawa diagrams, just to give you a brief advance, this is where we started. But then boiled it down to a few categories of human capital, structural and relational capital, which make intellectual capital. But I will not dig into the intellectual capital domain too much. But this is just where I started a long time ago. And we had some efforts to visualize those materials. So we developed software, obviously, to support us here, and still it took endless time. This was the state, and most of you have been part of the journey. So today we are in a different age, I would say. And this is what I would like to relate on a little slide I tried to create for our last big KMGN event, the Global Knowledge Management Week, where Moria organized lots of different people to contribute for 1 week and talk about various perspectives of knowledge management all around the world. And this is just one visual. I'm going to talk about that a little later, but this is more or less the most current visual I tried to create. And the the technology changed a lot in those days and last 2 decades, and I think this is how we dive a little bit deeper into our subject. So I think the mapping is a huge advantage. For example, if you focus on that slide, on the black slide, the content is much richer. It's covering not just one company, as in the left, like one strategic portfolio of an organization, but various groups. I think it's been more than 60 different groups. It's about 160 hours of recording, about which we covered on YouTube only a fraction. But this is, content which we try to map somehow. And this is the story I'm going to talk about the next couple of minutes and invite you to introduce your own perspectives later on. So from discovery to mapping, what changed, I think, particularly from the last or the first session hosted by Rudolf. I'm happy that you're here today, even though you're on holidays. Thank you so much. So we have the data already, but the problem now is how can we map that data that we created last week? How is it being done? For example, in the Microsoft world, which I'm working on a lot, which is on the left, or maybe the Google world, which some of you might use, or some fancy different tools, whatever it is. What changed? So I think, and this is the focus of today, that mapping in this session means we have a purpose. We are not just creating a visual or a nice illustration, which is colorful or which might, have some interactive elements, but we have a communication purpose. Now, and this is where Rudolf started last week with the discovery phase. So I would try to build on that. What is the purpose of visualizing our material, our data? And that really is absolutely dependent on your situation in your organizations, in your governments, in your universities, wherever you are. And it's very, very different. I think the purpose depends on our mission on knowledge management, and it starts with structuring the problem. So I think it's absolutely essential to define the strategic problem or the purpose that we wish to resolve with mapping. Yeah. So the second is very simple, in my point of view, that we have so many different frameworks. And one element might be to start by deciding that we can work, for example, on the very historic concept of BA, which Nonaka developed a long time ago. So I'm from Europe. I have no idea what he really means. I learned a little bit, and maybe I can talk like 2 or 3 sentences about this mysterious BA. But this is not my cultural concept. Coming from Europe, we like the standards, yeah, and particularly I like the ISO standards, the quality management, and Moria developed the ISO 3041, and I think this is what is a common denominator for us as a community in knowledge management. But there are different concepts. I'm used to the auditing concepts as well. For example, intellectual capital statements, for example, starting with this human capital and structural and relational and lots of processes and results, lots of categories we have. So there are conceptual frames. Yeah, there are different ones in industry, process, and project management, whatever you want. Value chain concepts. We have those, but we select one that fit our purpose or structural mission. And then obviously we have that problem of the data. Yeah. So what is the quality of the data we have? What is it that we can do with the data? Is it available digitally, or do we have to do analog data screening? Do we need optical character recognition? Whatever. So I think this is all important, and fortunately, times moved on since when I was a student a long time ago. We did it all manually, and now I think we are dwarfs in the tradition on the shoulder of giants. We don't have to start from scratch. I think this is absolutely convenient. So I will try to come back to this slide of opportunities we have already for our visualization. I think most of you have worked with that. I'm absolutely sure that this is nothing new to you. So the question is now, which of those many existing frames are best serving our purposes? Which is supporting my or our shared story? So I think this is the first and most essential question. How can we tell the story? Pavel and I and lots of other people contributed to our storytelling guidelines. So this is a little bit different. It's a more narrative way. If we use a mapping way, a data-based visualization, I think we need to tell a story a little bit different, but it's still a storytelling process. So the next question is, what data is available and what kind of visual supports that data? Yeah? Is it a time series, for example, that allows a different kind of storytelling than if we have categories, for example? So this is really influencing the way we can tell the story. And the final part is, what little extras do we have? And I'm going to dive into that a little bit, a few more minutes, yeah, if you go with me, in the concept of the knowledge management week and the global knowledge management week. We had those sessions, yeah, and I'm trying to, re-engineer, reconstruct what we had. Yeah? So lots of different meetings, lots of different sessions. And if I'm now here presenting my problem, I have a little limitation on time. I cannot maybe watch all the YouTubes, yeah, because it's maybe taking more than 1 or 2 days. So if I watch all of them, maybe a second time to take my notes. But still, my problem and challenge is I maybe would like to learn on new knowledge. How can I acquire new knowledge? So here's the data. Here is the sessions of KMGN, of this special event. And here are the videos. So we have the data. This is the first step. And I think most of you know this, our shared context in KMGN. Now, the second is the conceptual frame. Yeah, as I mentioned, the defining point, in my point of view, obviously, is that we now have this standard, and there is lots of other frames. So I just took one by definition or by declaration. So let's work with our shared standard of ISO 3041. There could be other standards like the excellence models, or the accounting models, or the value chain models. I take the ISO 3041 because all of us know it, right? And I'm interested in acquiring new knowledge. And the next one is, where can I relate that question to the videos which Eli provided for us, I think, in the YouTube channel? How can I find the right video and the right session to identify? So obviously, all of us work with one form of artificial intelligence. If we work with YouTube, I recommend to keep working with the Google tools, which is the Gemini world. I used to work with Claude as well and ChatGPT, but in the Google world, I would really recommend to stick with the AI of Gemini. And and get the videos transcribed and make it text. And the second is to create data. There's lots of magic behind that. Maybe not so much, but I will not talk about the prompting today. We will do that later. Maybe that if you're going to advertise this later in March sometime, the how to extract data from videos and stuff. This is a very interesting part, but I will not focus on that. I would like to assume, ladies and gentlemen, that we have the data already. Okay, so this is the little maybe illegal move or trick I would like to apply, but let's assume we have that data, which is not for granted anyway. But then we do the visual, and that might come out. I shared this visual. And I think I can click here on that link as well. So this is a digital visual, which is the same. And the little extra on is that we have, for example, some text here. Okay, I'm sharing this with you in the chat. Just give me a second to come back. Here is the chat. And here you should be able to have a click on your own. The big part now is, if you're still with me, you should see my screen, right? Moria, just double check. You see the black visual in a browser window. Wonderful. So all of you should be able to open that, and you can, play with the data yourself. Here is the duplicate. So if you log into that Flourish site, it's for free. At least
I'm not
it
sure
was
that we
until
can do
yesterday.
it. Just a minute. We see your screen, but we see it. How do you think that we can access it?
There is this duplicate stuff
But we
up
don't see
here.
the screen. We see your screen. We can't copy. We can't
That's
click
why
on the
I'm thank you.
duplicate.
So I need to
So,
stop my
so
sharing. I wanted to share my screen actually. So thank you for giving me that feedback. I give the screen.
please share with
This
us
should
now
be
on the chat the link to the URL.
He has, Maria.
I
That's
think I did.
okay.
Yeah, he
So
did.
we have it. Okay, so people are supposed. Yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I
wonderful.
missed it.
So
So people are not
just
allowed supposed to look at your screen, but to look at the chat.
yeah, just I want to make it sure that you see my screen. That really should be possible. So now you see.
Just a minute. Now we see your screen, and if we have another open window with the URL open, we can do it ourselves.
Exactly. And up here, there's
That's
this
what I really
duplicate.
think.
Yeah. So there on the upper right, you see a blue box. So you even can play with the data on your own. And it's interactive, and there is a scale here. So there is these dimensions of our ISO 3041 standard. We have on the y-axis the different activities. I choose 10 of them, which were available by the time I did it. And then we have the topics of governance, of human capital, of knowledge management structure, up to retaining current knowledge. So there are some headlines of our standards. And the question was, for example, is the Israel event covering, for example, the human capital topic? And yes, it is. Yeah. Or for example, is the KM Landscape project done by Andrew covering the human capital? Yes, it is. And there are other topics, for example, the handling of outdated knowledge, which was not so much covered by that particular group. And if we're talking about finding new knowledge, then I think new knowledge is this column, and I can check on all those different events, and maybe then come to Israel and your event, Moria, and listen to that talk or watch it, and then find it quickly. This is, I think, one way of mapping a huge set of YouTube data quite conveniently and present most to all of the data which what I were interested in just one slide. And essentially, this is one way of mapping. Yeah. So I tried to come back, and in an ideal world, I'm sharing my screen, and you come back with me to the PowerPoint. Just double check. I switch. Yeah, it looks like, no, just checking. It looks like you are still seeing my breakout window. Is that true that you see a Miro board?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So Rudolf last week created those slides. in Miro, and we had 6 teams working on the discovery of knowledge. And I think it would be cool if we just work with that data provided by you as a group and move on the next step. So we did the identification, we did the discovery, we have that data, and the idea now would be to move the next step, right? To map what is there. And that's why I drafted a little challenge for all of you here. We have 6 teams again. I think, Maura, you're going to assign us later on, but first I try to explain my challenge today. Yeah, we have this lots of data and lots of notes, sticky notes created by our teams. Now I would move one level up and work with the whole content and try to find a way how can we condense and present all those findings in a meaningful way. This is, I think, the purpose. We could work now on mapping the knowledge state which we developed in 6 teams and move up one level. How can we create one visual that conveys the findings of last week's session? The second would be obviously the data selection. Which of that data we already created might be most suitable? So we have it already, but what is it exactly? This is sticky notes, this is lots of text, this is a structure. So what data is it that we really would use? And I invite you to not collect new data. It's just working on what we have already, okay? And then this third question would be, what concept would support us to, condense or aggregate the data we already have? What concept would apply? Is it, for example, a Ishikawa diagram? Is it categories like we used in the intellectual capital world? Is this a kind of value chain? Is it something else? Yeah. The conceptual structure, what of that would apply for you? And the last one is the visualization logic, which would fit to communicate, to convey the message we identified in the first purpose. So I think these are 4 different challenges and 4 questions. Maybe we focus on only the first one, purpose. This is obligatory to all of you. And then depending on your interest, you choose one of the next 3, okay? Work at least on another one. So every team works on 2 questions, please, and maybe 3, depending on your speed. And Moria, I think you are assigning us in the breakout session. In between, I show you the Miro map I prepared. So it will look like that, our frames, and we will be assigned in random teams to this challenge. The output should be only a very brief description. I have an example for you, okay? So I give you a brief example. So this should be very short, yeah? No new knowledge developed, no knowledge discovery, but just an identification. For example, I like the intellectual capital stuff here, and you have your own one. So I will not spoil you. This is the challenge. The idea is not to discover new knowledge, but just answer those questions depending on what purpose you wish to convey with the data we have already. Moria, I think it's on you to create
yes, so,
the teams.
First of all, I shared in the chat the link to the Miro
It's down
area,
here
to
as
the
well,
Miro
yeah.
frame.
Thank
1.
you.
B, I'm going to open 6 teams now. We have nearly 50 people with AI bots, and we have 10 minutes. Is that the time?
Perfect.
Let's start. Recording again. Manfred,
Wonderful.
we are all with you.
People are coming back. Yeah. the discussion I had was quite interesting. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, deviate a little bit from our usual. Let's discuss in groups and then summarize to give you a little bit more extra input before we do the discussion. Okay, I brought 5 more slides. And if you don't mind, I wish to present them in a structured way and then do the reflection. Okay. So I tried to share again my PowerPoint screen, the full screen, and it seems
Just
to
a minute.
work.
Just a minute. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. We have it.
We have it. So this was the challenge, right? And it's a difficult one, and maybe it was too much, but it doesn't matter. It's just a structure. So let's move on. This was the example. And what I did with the data, you see the data up here, is I did exactly that what you suggested in the group as well. I did some frequency map. I was checking, for example, how many times this item 5 whys was appearing in the 6 groups, and the message here is 5 of 6 teams were mentioning this 5Y technique, and the other one is that we see here in the I hope you can see my cursor. So I tried to make the laser pointer here as well. What we see in this part of the bar chart is that lots of techniques were mentioned only once. Yeah, so we have a few of them mentioned twice, and we have a few, highlights. So there is consensus on the one technique in terms of frequency. So we have a prioritization or kind of popularity consensus here, but I think there's more here. So we were maybe interested in the co-occurrences. So how many topics were appearing in different groups and might serve as a kind of bridge to connect the teams. And here I brought again a visual, so I have to change my laser pointer to the mouse screen again. And ideally, I flip here to another visual. I'm in a browser, Moria. Can you see the browser here? Maybe not. So I'm again sharing my link in the chat, yeah, for that co-occurrences. And the link should be available to you. And there you have the eye candy. So what we see here is the 5 whys. This is the big blue circle in the center. And then we have another topic, which is the after action review. This is the big red circle. And then we have another one, which is interesting. Interesting because it says interviews. And if you say here interviews, for example, that is only mentioned once. So how can that be? Okay. The explanation is quite simple. We had different stages of interviews, so the term was mentioned more times, not just once, and we aggregated this. So just to switch to the eye candy part, here we have it. Yeah, what we have here is we identify. Can you see my browser, Moria?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So
I
we
just
have.
I want to stop you for a minute, just to reframe us all. Manfred is demonstrating how we map our knowledge states using KM as an example. However, in
Exactly.
your organization, you can look at machines, you can look at coins, you can look at whatever products, services, or you are doing. So don't be confused that we are using KM to speak about KM, because this is an untypical example, and we will have different terms in our maps and states and whatever.
All right, that's the
Back to
extra
you.
twist, isn't it? Yeah, talking about knowledge management in knowledge management mapping. Yeah, but I think most of our participants can do that a little. But I think what we see here, yeah, remember that we started with the Miro produced by Rudolf last week, that we can reproduce the different teams. See, there are like areas in our chart that more or less resemble the teams. So this is co-occurrence, like terms, for example, this 5 whys. This appeared in all of the 5, or at least in 5 of 6 teams. So not down here, but in all the other spheres of our community. And interestingly, for example, if you take another one, for example, this knowledge workflows, this was not mentioned by any other community or team, So we have different parts, but this is one way, co-occurrences, which is a statistical term or a network term or a library science term. But I think this is one visualization, and it says that we have a common denominator. I'd like to switch on my PowerPoint, and in an ideal world, you see now my PowerPoint again. Moria, could you please confirm? Thumbs up, please. Yeah. Do you see the PowerPoint? That's wonderful. So here we see shared denominators. We have shared topics. The rest is not shared. And this is a message, I would say. Again, let's check for the data, because this is not the only way. Next step, I could check for a kind of structure or hierarchy, So if we do a kind of hierarchy, like we are interested in people and root causes and processes, like different dimensions, that could be one concept or different concepts, and then attribute our methods to one of those dimensions or purposes. So this is a tree map, a hierarchy map, and this is added with another dimension, which is a kind of Ishikawa, because essentially this means a hierarchy or category set. And this has the additional element of the numbers of mentions. For example, you see this 5 whys, which is a little bit bigger than the Pareto, which was mentioned only one, but it's part of the root cause topic. Then we have this people element and processes. And again, I click here, and in an ideal world, you see another picture of the browser, and we could do some eye candy. This is all done by, this is the additional technology level which we have. And I added a mini description of what could be meant by pain point identification, for example. So the element here is that it's not necessarily correct that I identified your interpretation of last week. So this is an added level and might be a cause of conflict. This is the first step. Second step, it could be a pedagogical or training element, because you already see what 5 whys might mean, and could agree, or maybe we change it or disagree, and and we have a common denominator, say a shared perspective or not. This is just one additional way to create. I'm switching back to my PowerPoint, a hierarchy structure based on the data we created in our teams last week. So I give you another one, which is the final slide here. I use my structure, which was the introduction to our Miro breakout, and define my purpose. I would like to connect techniques from knowledge discovery. This was done by you, to the ISO 3041 to select suitable methods for specific sections in the standard. So I wanted to find if those techniques support parts of the activities we have in our standard requirement, for doing proper knowledge management, whatever that means. So the data selection was a list. I created the Miro and made a list from that, and I selected the headlines from our standard. And the conceptual structure was the ISO elements as well, and my visual should be a heat map. So this is my set or my request, and then I had to do a few decisions, because a heat map usually is limited. I cannot use all 35 elements. I wanted to cover the full standard, not just only knowledge identification, but the full standard. And I wanted to focus on the most popular elements, which we identified. So not the topics or techniques you mentioned only once or in one team, but I was focusing on, I'm interested in the 11 most popular ones. So this is a selection element. And the last one, I wanted to have not a digital yes or no, this is covered or not, but I wanted having a yes, this is supporting this part of this technique is supporting that part of the standard highly, or medium, or only low. This was my challenge, and this should be my final slide here, what I created from the challenge. This is a heat map. It's a little reddish today, covering those elements from our discussion, from our discovery element last week. And let's now do the interpretation. The interpretation is, let's see here, the scale high. We have the after action review, quite relevant. Yeah. And we have the risk and needs analysis audit, quite relevant. Yeah, here are the methods you identified. Here is the same structure of the standard, and we have the identification of highs. So there are certain techniques differentiated to support various sections of the standard. We have lots of empathy, for example, in the context of acquiring new knowledge. There you need this empathy and maybe the design thinking elements. And the process mapping, you need the processes. I think that is obviously making sense. Again, I click here and share the link with you. So in case you are interested, you could play with that. Just give me a second. I share it in the chat. Where are you? Chat, where are you? Here we go. Here is the link for you. And I come back to my presentation. No, I stay here. See again.
I want to interpret, if I can, in a minute when
Sure.
you have a break. We have template. We can produce templates, each presenting a standard or a way of looking at the map, the concept as we called it, and these would be our rows here. So these would be the key indicators by which I am assessing, evaluating, checking, understanding my data.
Yeah.
Then the rows would be one above the other would be the data elements that I am checking as to the key indicators, and their scale or their how good are they, or how
Relevance.
important are they, or of these elements would be the color that I see in the middle.
You are a formal scientist, a mathematician background, so absolutely excellent explanation. Thank you so much for helping me. And I think essentially that's it. Yeah. There's a second part of the message as well, right? The dark red, yeah, or light reddish, we should maybe not use if we focus on that different dimension of our ISO 3041. So if you're talking about human capital, maybe the process map is not the most suitable. There are better approaches like interview if you focus on human capital. Yeah. So there are different approaches, and this is just building on the data we have. So I tried to make a concept map, and this is not like this is not the golden bullet, obviously, but this is just one way for me to make sense of the huge set of notes, of sticky notes we created last week with the help of Rudolf. And this is my interpretation. And now I'm switching back to my PowerPoint and give the floor to you and ask, one more, yeah? The message, the last one, is that the most popular, like the 4 whys, the 5 whys, are not supporting all of our standard elements. See, even though it's most popular, it's maybe not the most suitable technique to talk about our knowledge management standard. So I think this is an important takeaway. So not the most popular is always the most relevant or the best fitting method. This is what I learned from this visual. And now I would like to invite you to comment a little bit on that, in case you have comments or deviating views.
Hi, Manfred. This is Julia
Hi,
from
Julia.
Brazil. And thank you so much. This is very insightful. Maybe I have missed, and pardon if I didn't understand, but what is the rationale for evaluating if one technique is or not suitable for each of the section? Like the criteria, is it embedded in the AI analysis, or you input it and frame it?
I will give me one additional slide, okay? This is
All
the
right.
next, yeah. But you are focusing on the right, because if you do that, and I think you have a scientific background, yeah, because you were talking about methods. This means a lot of work, right? Yeah, you have to check for each method and each criteria, define a set of criteria, why that fits to 5 stars, 3 stars, 1 star only. Yeah, so you're right. This is a lot of work, and maybe there is technology to help us. Yeah, and I'm revealing that, yeah, in a second. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's focus on another one. Is there a demand for that kind of aggregation? Is there anybody having a problem to interpret the 6 original frames we had in our 6 teams? And is that map maybe a little bit more aggregating the material in a different way? Yeah. Is anybody into that direction?
Manfred, for me, this is a big help to really make the discussion about priorities and directions a little bit more rational. It is not the first thing that you keep in mind and you always stay with, because then you start to like it. It is a little bit more objective way to start a conversation.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think starting a conversation is always the best part. Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, Pavel, you're absolutely right. This is only the start. I'm not selling this as the truth or as the last interpretation of our data. It's just, my interest in what you and we and Rudolf created together, and to make a little bit sense and to better understand it. And this is where I am today. I invested more than 1 hour, into that slide. I invested 3 hours. So there is time involved in creating that slides and to clean the data and structure the data. But the beautiful part is I learned something about you, about your reasoning, and maybe that is another fork of our interpretation, because I invested maybe a little bit more time than you did, so we have more trouble to understand each other, Pavel, instead of less. Yeah. Okay. As we are progressing, I would give you one more slide, and maybe then it's a little bit clearer. Where is Julia? This is for you. AI supporting us, because this is the obvious background, interesting, for all of us. And for me, the AI, the Gemini, in that case, I've worked with ChatGPT, is to clarify my intent. What is it that I should talk about? What is it that really is my purpose? Because in a science context, in a orientation phase, you don't know yet what could be here. And Simon, in our breakout session, I think you were heading into that direction. You had some difficulties to understand actually what is the purpose here really. And I had the same problem, and that's why I tried to use AI. Say, okay, here is the Miro export. How can we reconstruct that? So I use and clarify AI to get a better understanding of what is there. And then the second step is, and I really love the quality of AI here. You all might have different experiences, but this is what I learned is extract structured data from unstructured data. For example, making that list. You can type it or you let AI do it. So I let AI do it and I let AI count it. So this is, Julia, where I'm using the machine. And maybe, on interviews, there are different terms mentioning interviews, like the entry interview or the exit interview. So the term interview is technically twice, and here AI understood it as a connection. Interview as a technique, is the same for entry and exit, right? The topic, the content is different, but the term, the technology, the method is the same. So preparing the data here, AI suggested to say, okay, interview is not just once for exit and another one for entry. And then maybe a third one for whatever, like employee feedback talk, whatever. But it's mentioned a few times, and it serves as a connector. So I'm using that, preparing the data. And finally, as you've seen, there's a flourish, a technology behind it. You have to structure the data in a special way. Just give you a second to, you see the blue buttons to dig into the data and to edit it on your own. But to make the visuals like they are, scale it and access, you sometimes have to reformat it. You can do that in Excel, your own, or you let it be be done by AI. This is where I'm using AI a lot. Say, okay, this is not working, make it, and this is depending on the tools you use. I like, for example, Gephi, which is a wonderful tool. It's very advanced and you can visualize like hundreds of thousands of data points. Yeah, this is not for 10 pieces or 7 lines, but it's really huge. You can map, for example, the DNA with the Gephi stuff. And the last one is to do the interpretations. Yeah, what is it that we actually see here? What is it actually that is counterintuitive, maybe? Or maybe is there some like redundancy that I can use to cut it and make it smaller, make it easier to understand? So I test the consistency of maps a lot with AI. Yeah, this is how I use AI to support my mapping. And for me, the AI is only an accelerator. It's a tool, but it's not like we can just paste the mirror screenshot and say, "Dear AI, make your magic." It's not that way. So it's on us to decide, and that's why I'm starting with the purpose and say, "Okay, what is in it for us?" So there are pitfalls, obviously. So if we do just the "Dear AI, do something," then we get a word map, for example, a Wordle, yeah? And I don't like that so much because there's no structure, there are no axes, there's no hierarchy. Maybe, this is not the maximum we can learn from that, yeah? Frequency is implicitly used, but not really. My 5 whys here are very small comparatively to the interview stuff. So we have lots of limits to the kind of AI patterns. And then there's another one, Pavel, because I was hoping that you're here. I have the taxonomy part as well. So we have this data world, yeah. And then we have the knowledge management. And please, let's not confuse that. Using the data is absolutely essential, and I love it, yeah. But let's not, understand data is the same as knowledge. It's not. For me, it's the ability to act, yeah. And this is the social part of it. This is my and your interpretation and individual deviation of the same data. So essentially, that's it. Before I summarize, another opportunity for anybody to challenge my, blunt observations and interpretations. Is there anything I see
would
from the chat?
challenge, Manfred.
Yeah.
I wouldn't challenge, but I would add that AI does not only accelerate, but it helps us see hidden patterns, hidden things that we as human beings don't always with our eyes see by ourselves. So we have to be very alert and not only say, okay, it will make us be faster. Of course, we have to be critical, but it's also about hidden knowledge that pops up through AI.
Yeah. And Moria, this is really what I liked on my heat map, because the frequency data would say, go for the 5 whys. Yeah. So this is the most popular, and that's it. Yeah, you're safe. This is the most popular. But unfortunately, it really depends on what we wish to do. And if we focus on knowledge management, depending on our ISO 3041, then the 5 whys are useful in the human capital dimension, but not the standard tool. This is, I think, the counterintuitive part, which I learned a lot. And so, in the context of reporting, obviously, the after action review is closer to the auditing and closer to the reviewing part of our standard, and thus might make a little bit more sense, even though it's not winning the popularity context. It's obviously, it was mentioned a few times, but it's not the winner of popularity. So relevance and frequency is not the same. And I think, Moria, you framed it better than I could do it. Yeah, this is what I learned from that kind of data visualization sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, the Swiss knowledge management models are famous. I think they are excellent concepts. We could refer and use them as well. So, Josephine, I think it's Pavel. Yeah, Pavel, we could map maybe the same data on the lens model, yeah, and figure what's coming out from them. Yeah, this could be our private project on the weekend. Yeah, but it could be done. Yeah, and then we have a complete different visual and complete different mapping, which might be suitable to your members, not to the rest of the world, but your members, which are maybe more familiar with the knowledge lenses. No?
I think
Just
this could be very well usable in any circumstances. Any organization has their favorite ways how to visualize things. You could put it into their framework so that it will be kind of immediately accepted by them. Oh yeah, this is how we see the world.
and the automotive value chain is different than, for example, the metal mining part, yeah? So I would just give over, Moria, to you and our next speaker. I think it's our hour is done, isn't it? We don't hear you.
Thank you, Manfred, so much. It was brilliant. I learned as always. And I want to thank you for the time, for the effort, and for the knowledge we gained. And to remind everyone that before we continue on, next week we will dive deep into the risks, because risks don't have the same priority as all other assets and all other knowledge resources, assets, or whatever that we find on the way. They have a special place. So Susan Durst will be speaking about that next week. Be with us all. Thank you.
Thank you.